State versus Carol Reinschmidt. Possession of firearms by certain persons, possession of a defaced firearm, public intoxication. It's case 17-217. Ma'am, do you have a lawyer?
No, I do not.
Okay, are you going to hire a lawyer or make application to the public defender's office? Okay, I lost you there. What did you say?
I don't have the money to hire a lawyer, so I'd have to have a public defender.
Okay, you've not filled out an application, have you?
Have not.
Okay, there should be an application at the jail. Just turn it in, fill it out, turn it in. Let me see when we can have you back. We're up here on June 29th at 10 o'clock for arraignment and attorney status.
What is my bond going to be? Is there a chance of getting OR'd?
Probably not a chance of getting OR, but let's see. Set at $5,000.
How much?
5,000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. June 29th, 10 o'clock.
Thank you.
You may stand aside. Thanks a lot. State versus Doyle George, delivery of methamphetamine, 17-216.
Can I approach, Your Honor? Mr. George and his revocation proceeding. I'm not sure if that's going to proceed or if the new charges are going to be what he moves forward on. So what we did is we copied the affidavit that he filed with us last week, and it's verbatim there before you.
Okay. Okay, sir, I've appointed the public defender's office to represent you, and you're appearing for an arraignment.
Judge, we waive reading of the information in her plea of not guilty.
Okay, we'll enter the plea of not guilty. This case is before Judge Webb. He'll be here on June 22nd.
Judge, if I could, when I met with Doyle at the jail yesterday, there was a little bit of confusion as to what he was actually charged with. Could you just read the charges for us again?
Charged with delivery of controlled substance, methamphetamines, and under habitual offender.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything else?
Not today, Judge. Thank you.
Okay. Be all in that case. You may stand aside, sir. Kathleen Hurry, is that correct? Delivery of methamphetamine, unlawful use of communication device, 17-215. Can they hear me? Yeah, they can hear. He can't hear.
He just can't hear.
Okay. Good morning, ma'am. Do you have a lawyer?
Yes.
Who is it? Who is your lawyer, ma'am?
I had made an application with the public defender's office.
Okay.
We haven't received that yet, Judge. I was there on Tuesday taking those applications, and I think some folks were arrested after that, and they haven't been provided to us yet.
Okay. Well, I don't have your application, ma'am. Who did you give it to?
The jailers?
Judge, just based on our office's previous representation in this period, for today's purposes, we can, while we're waiting to get that application, enter our a not guilty plea on her behalf. It looks like it'll be assigned to this division, so if you want to reschedule it for the next time you're here, we will make sure we get that paperwork in order.
Okay, we'll enter a plea of not guilty in your case, ma'am. Return on...
Can I by chance get a bond reduction of this sort? $20,000 bond?
We'll enter a plea of not guilty in your case, and your next appearance will be June 29th at 10 o'clock for attorney status.
Okay, can I get a bond reduction? Excuse me? Can I get a bond reduction, sir?
I'm looking at it, ma'am.
Okay, sorry. Since we have a slow connection.
What's the state's position?
No, this lady has her criminal history is a .50, a .75. She is actually charged with 3 sales of methamphetamine, Your Honor, all done within about a week in the month of March. It's presently set at $20,000.
Judge, I do know.
I don't know this defendant, Your Honor.
I do know her. I was the ad litem in her child's custody case. She's a longtime
I
resident.
have no priors. I have children.
Just a second, okay? She is local, Judge. She does have parents who live here, and young children that live here. She has long ties to this community. I believe probably $5,000 is more appropriate to assure her
Tell you what,
parents.
I'll set the bond at $5,000, 10% of which will be cash. You can make the rest with the bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
State versus Mark Mucka, is that correct? How do you pronounce your name, sir? Okay, charged with arson, 17-212. Do you have a lawyer, sir? I'm sorry, what did you say?
You're not?
Okay, are you gonna hire a lawyer?
I'll need a public defender.
Okay, have you filled out an application yet?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Judge, we'll need to review that application. It's my understanding this individual has maybe substantial assets. So we'll get that one to you today. For the purposes of his arraignment today, I'd be willing to enter a plea of not guilty and have it rescheduled before Judge Webb for reappearance for attorney status.
okay. We'll enter a plea of not guilty. I'll have you reappear before Judge Webb on June 22nd at, does he start at 9:30?
Yes, sir.
9:30. S- 17-211, State versus Robert Whitfield. Possession of methamphetamine with the purpose to deliver, possession of drug paraphernalia.
Your Honor, we represent Mr. Whitfield. We've previously been appointed in this matter. At this point in time, I believe his bond is set at $5,000. I met with him at the jail the other day. We're going to work on trying to get him into a rehabilitation facility pending these charges, and I'll speak with the prosecutor about that. Otherwise, I believe if it's not been scheduled, if we'll get a scheduling order. If it has, we'll request discovery and move forward accordingly.
Okay, I'll enter a plea of not guilty in the case, and we'll schedule it. That'll be all we can do today, sir. Thank you. Let me stand aside. 17-210, State versus Philip Wilcoxon. Possession of methamphetamine, disorderly conduct, resisting arrest.
Judge, I presently represent Mr. Wilcoxon in this division on a revocation or a contempt petition, so I know that he will qualify unless his circumstances have substantially changed, which I would imagine they have not. At this point in time, we'll enter a plea of not guilty on his behalf and ask that he be set to reappear in front of Judge Webb on these new charges.
Very well, we'll enter the plea of not guilty. His next appearance is June 22nd at 9:30.
Your Honor, the white warrant has been lifted against me where I can bond out. Is there any way I might be able to get an OR bond?
Judge, we were actually in the process of revoking his previous bond that he's filed here.
Apparently, they intend to try to revoke your bond, so we'll have to take that up later. Your
Try
previous,
to revoke.
you have a bond, have you put up any kind of a bond, sir?
No, I haven't even tried bonded out yet.
Well, he says he
I
hasn't
thought
put up,
from his previous case, he had a bond.
Those other cases are contempts because I think he's actually finished with his probation and parole. These are,
I know I got a $5,000 bond.
yeah. Let your lawyer work on it, sir. Maybe he can work something out for you.
do you have, in that file, Judge, is there a bond listed on that?
Oh, I don't know.
Sorry.
$5,000.
Judge, we would ask that stand, and if there is another issue with the other cases, we'll deal with that. Thank you, Your Honor.
17-209, criminal attempt to commit rape, residential burglary, sexual assault.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Right. Sir, I've appointed the Public Defender's Office to represent you. You're appearing for an arraignment.
Judge, we'd enter a plea of not guilty on his behalf. Ask that a scheduling order be issued.
Very well, we'll enter that plea of not guilty.
No other action today, Judge.
Thank you. You may stand aside. State versus Tommy Hitt, 17206. Possession with purpose to deliver methamphetamine, drug paraphernalia, maintaining a drug premise, 17134. Methamphetamine, some driving offenses, 16393. Possession of firearms for certain persons, drug paraphernalia, other charges.
Judge, it's my understanding that he's appearing for either arraignment or attorney status on 17-206. With regard to that case, I believe that there has been a petition and an order entered revoking his bonds. I've spoken with the prosecuting attorney this morning and with Mr. Hitt's bondsman, and I think we have an agreement as to that issue. With regard to 17-206, the state is requesting, and we would stipulate that a $5,000 cash bond would be appropriate in that case, and that if the bondsman will let the court know that he will stay on the other two bonds, that would be sufficient for those bonds.
In 17206, it doesn't appear he's been arraigned.
We would waive any of the information, Judge, and enter plea of not guilty on his behalf.
Okay. 17134. What is his bond in the other case?
Judge, I'm not sure.
It was revoked, Your Honor, on April 14th.
Looks like 5,000. 16393.
He actually bonded out before I represented him. It was $2,500 maybe on that bond, Your Honor.
Got a whole lot of bond, but anyway. We'll go with the pride.
Thank you, Your Honor.
State versus Joshua Lane, 17203. Possession of firearms by certain persons. Appointed the Public Defender's Office to represent you,
Yes, Your Honor.
and he appears for an arraignment.
Judge, we'd enter a plea of not guilty. At this time, after speaking with Mr. Chisholm, we might bring Mr. Lane over. We should probably bring him over to try to dispose of this today.
All right, we'll recall his case
Thank you, Your Honor.
and transport him.
Judge, and that'll be the same thing with the next two, Mr. Hutton and Miss Lundholm as well.
Okay. You may stand aside, sir. (17-103) State versus Brandy Barnes, theft by receiving.
No, he's not. Judge, there are no pretrial motions. We
Okay.
would like to take the opportunity to just to clarify his bond situation. It has been somewhat confusing. He has several cases pending. It's my understanding, speaking with the state, that there's a $10,000 cash bond that stands for Mr. Barnes' cases. His previous bonds had been previously revoked.
Judge, there's a $10,000 cash bond in 2017-27, which you entered on May the 11th of this year. That's in 2017-27.
Do you oppose that bond carry in all of his cases right now?
Well, his bondman can stay on the rest of his.
Okay, okay,
If his bondman was down, but I don't see any reason to come off that.
okay. There was some confusion at the jail too as to what it was. I believe there was a notation that he did not have a bond, so we need to make sure that that's rectified.
I don't know if he has a bond in this case.
What case is that, Your Honor?
Well, he may.
What number is that?
103.
There was a motion
It
to,
says admitted to bond in amount of $47,000. Bond will sell on the bond. State versus Rebecca Payne, battery, 17-7, 17-1 is aggravated assault.
Judge, there's no action to take today in Ms. Payne's cases. We did receive back reports that found her, well, I won't go into that on the record, but I believe the courts reviewed those. And we can talk about those at the break. I would have hoped that before the trial date, we will have a resolution to Ms. Payne's matters, Judge.
Very well, we'll leave them as scheduled. 16-365, State versus Kevin Shute, possession of paraphernalia.
Judge, Mr. Shute had an FTA pending and therefore missed his trial date in April. If we could have this matter reset on a scheduling order with a reappearance in 2 weeks from now, I'm hoping that we can have this case resolved at the next time the court's here.
Well, the next time I'm here will be June 29th. We can bring you before Judge Webb, but he may not be here either till the 22nd, at any rate.
We'll try to get it resolved before that June date, Your Honor.
Okay. We stand aside, sir. 16-247, State versus Chris Gladney, failure to register.
Judge, this is a revocation, and in Mr. Gladney's case, it was, I believe, set for trial by Judge Webb last week. At this point in time, I don't think we're in any danger of running into the 60-day requirement for a hearing, but I'm going to move to continue today's hearing until your June 29th date for resolution. And of course, if it falls into that category, we'll waive the 60-day requirement.
Is that agreed?
Is that agreed? Yes.
Okay. It may be in the computer, which is not acting right. Did he enter a plea of not true?
We will at this time, Your Honor, if he did
Okay.
not.
Plea of not true, 60 days waived, hearing on June 29th. 15-115, Kevin Hudson. Possession with purpose to deliver methamphetamine, paraphernalia, several drug-related charges. Mr. Hudson, I've appointed the Public Defender's Office to represent you. And you're appearing for an arraignment on a petition to revoke, it appears.
Judge, we plead not true to those allegations. It appears that the case was filed based on new charges out of Sharp County and that he's scheduled to go back there on June 21st. So if we could set it for hearing on the 29th, we should have an idea of what's happening there and maybe be able to resolve this or have the hearing that date.
I note that it was originally Division 3, Judge Webb signed the order.
That's fine, Judge. If you want to put it for a hearing in front of Division 4, I'll get with Mark because I represented Mr. Hudson in the underlying charge and we can discuss it.
His next date here is June 22nd.
That should be just perfect then, Judge.
Very well, hearing on June 22nd.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Joshua Thompson, theft of property was the original charge, 14-246. Sir, it appears there's been a petition filed to revoke your probationary period. Do you have a lawyer?
I filled out paperwork, yes.
Judge, we didn't receive that paperwork. However, based on his statement that he's filled one out for today's purposes, we enter a plea of not true for him.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it. That's easy. I like that.
I'll set it for hearing before Judge Webb on June 22nd, 9:30.
Is there any talk about a bond today, sir?
There hadn't been any yet. I don't know anything about him.
Is it a money issue?
Under this gentleman apparently was placed on probation for breaking and entering and theft back in May of 2015. He was put on probation for 3 years. The allegations contained in the report is that this gentleman was scheduled to visit his probation officer and failed to do that. That would have been on February the 8th. In addition to that, he has not made a payment to the Baxter County Circuit Court since March of last year. Looks like he has an outstanding balance of about $3,300. On May 6th, I guess on February 16th, when we went to find him, when he didn't come, we found out that he was no longer living at that and his whereabouts were unknown. Judge, I'd ask for a $3,300 cash bond.
Very well, 3,300 cash.
33 cash. Thank you.
Thank you. $17,109, Christopher Packley, aggravated assault, endangering the welfare of a minor.
Your Honor, I represent Mr. Packley. There is no action to take in his case today. I think on the court's scheduling order, he is set to reappear on July 27th. That is his plea deadline.
Very well, we'll leave his schedule.
Thank you, Your Honor.
17-214, State versus Heath Freeman, theft of property, defacing, or altering a VIN number. Who represents you, sir?
I haven't obtained a lawyer yet. I'm still working on that, but I'd like to plead not guilty.
You want to do what?
Plead not guilty.
Very well. Enter the plea of not guilty. Reappear on June 22nd at 9:30 for attorney status.
Okay. Do I get any paperwork or?
Maybe get, if you want the date written down, is that what you want?
Yeah, that'd
Okay.
be good.
We'll do it for him.
Sure. They'll do it for you. 17-213, State versus Michael Trucks, fraudulent use of a credit or debit card and theft. Morning.
Morning.
Do you have a lawyer, sir?
No, sir. I have the papers for public defender filled out.
All right.
Gonna give it to me, sir? I'll take it. Judge, we'll need some more information. We'll have him complete this and get back to the court.
We'll recall your case, sir. 17-207, Don Gowan, possession with purpose to deliver methamphetamine, drug paraphernalia, maintaining a drug premise.
You know, I think there is no action from defense standpoint today. I believe that we have a new scheduling order, and that may have been the reason that she was scheduled to appear today.
Don't know, it's somewhere in this computer.
Okay. Was she arraigned last week?
I'm assuming she was. Did you go before Judge Webb?
Mm-hmm.
And
Pled not
kind of
guilty.
between the files and into the
Well,
computer?
Your Honor, we have received a scheduling order that has her to reappear on September the 7th, so
Very well.
she'll just need to stay in contact with me.
16-429, State versus Dwayne Dean, theft of property, residential burglary, violence by certain persons, possession of controlled substances.
Judge, we have a plea deadline today. I was in trial in Washington County on Friday and had to reschedule my meeting with Mr. Dean to discuss his plea offer. We can extend his deadline to the 29th as well. His trial is the